I'm trying to take this seriously. I feel like a news anchor. Hello, Alice.
Hello,
This
Lisa.
is Lisa Z reporting.
Cron 4 News.
Cron 4. Do I look like a claymation? Is my makeup good?
Yes, can you give us the weather report?
Well, the weather today is, okay, let's get real. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
My name is Lisa Z.
I'm Alice Shaw.
And we are bringing you a new program. It's called Behind the Surface, Seeing Beyond What Your Eyes See.
Lisa and I are both photographers.
And clairvoyance.
So
I'm a commercial photographer and she's a...
I'm an artist.
You are.
So Lisa probably makes more money than I do.
Very debatable. Nonetheless, we come to you with some new programming, and in the spirit of never being able to plan ever, we decided today that for our first episode, we would explain who we are. I think really important before we launch into all our witchy voodoo woo stuff. You should potentially know who we are, where we came from, why we're doing this, and why Minnesota Street. So, Alice, what do you have to say?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about how we ended up at Minnesota Street. I was asked by Jim Goldberg 3 years ago, last week, right?
Yeah, it was the 3-year anniversary was about 2 weeks ago of our portion of the installation within the exhibit. So
Jim Goldberg was holding some programming for the Fake Newsroom in conjunction with Larry Sultan's retrospective at SF MoMA. And he asked me to do a clairvoyant reading on the fake news. And I asked Lisa and our friend Janice Billion to join. And we got to take a sneak peek behind the fake news. And Lisa, why don't you talk about what we saw?
Sure. Well, it's interesting because when we use our clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, as Alice stated, we tell our readees when we're reading one-on-one that we don't predict the future or give advice. It's really too much responsibility considering that in present day, we have enough to look at to keep us content here and a whole bunch of boulders from the past to remove. So we try not to launch forward, although we do get what's called precognition. So when we read for Minnesota Street with the fake news program, the Fake Newsroom, we looked at the energy of fake news, but what came out of it may have seemed really insignificant at the time, but now 3 years forward is really quite compelling. And in the past months, I've found myself repeating tidbits from that reading to so many people, given the state of our world right now. And they'd say, wow, that really gave me a lot of comfort. So I'd like to explain a little bit about what we saw. So out of the gate, this was about just roughly several months into the Trump administration. Maybe, I don't even know, where are we? But maybe 6 months into the Trump administration. So people were really uncomfortable. So we saw the beginning of the Me Too movement. When I was in trance, I couldn't even remember Matt Lauer's name, but I said, you know, the man who has the sexual assault, he's a news anchor. I don't really watch television. So it was great. Someone in the crowd said, yeah, Matt Lauer. I said, okay, so this is just the beginning of an entire line of people who are going to be outed. And this is a value system that's going to be imploding. And within that reading, we also saw, you know, some other things. We were looking at North Korea. We saw a lot of information about North Korea that is even beyond my capability of fathoming. But we saw where that was going, and we saw that no one quite really has control over it. An entity beyond is controlling this, beyond CIA, FBI, highest government officials throughout the world. I can't explain it, but I saw a lot of the unfolding of what was going on there and how it was affecting us or could potentially affect us. Pass to the matter. Let's fast forward to looking at a picture that we saw, which Janice reminded me of at the beginning of this pandemic. She said, Lisa, do you remember getting a picture of people in social isolation? And I said, wow, unbelievable, you're right. I did, and we did, because when one of us sees a picture, the other one can look behind and get more information. And what I saw, and it was like kind of a double effect image is what I saw. And we'll explain to you later how we read so you understand, because it's very visual because we're clear seers. But I saw people, particularly like Turkey area, Middle East, in social isolation. But then I saw people in social isolation throughout the world. But the information I got why it was presented in the Middle East was it showed a large presence of women and women educating their children in the home in social isolation. And it was very woman to child centric, which gave a huge amount of information to us, which Alice pinged in on. And Alice, remember you discussed where we were heading politically and the movement towards, and I know a lot of people are talking about the rise of the woman and the feminine leadership, but 3 years ago we were getting proof of the pudding that this is where it was heading. Because Alice, you noted about how our model for politics is going to rely heavily upon certain countries. We're getting pings on like Germany and the Nordic regions. And now, of course, this is just common talk. So that leads us to where we are today, that prior to being invited, prior to starting this programming, I kept getting pings, Minnesota Street. I don't know why. I'm not a showing artist by any means. But that I just have to trust my internal dialogue, right? Yeah. So, I said to Alice, wow, we should probably revisit the idea of maybe doing another full reading, because it's the 3-year anniversary, and it would be really interesting to get a loose roadmap for people on where we're going in the next chunk of time. Not that we need to have that information, but just, it's almost like it just gives you a little a comfort. So what we also saw in that reading is that we have many more years to go, not necessarily within this pandemic, but many more years of discomfort. And this all needs to happen. And additionally, I just want to let you know that I saw pictures of, let's say, the figureheads like Donald Trump, and he presented do you remember the statue that we pulled down of Saddam Hussein? We literally took ropes and pulled it down, and people pulled it down. Well, I saw a symbolic picture of all these types of figureheads who matched the same energy level as Donald Trump, and said leaders throughout the world imploding, meaning we don't really have to do anything. At the end of the day, they will implode themselves, but they have to be there. They have to be there because people have to feel uncomfortable. Now, most of the audience here that we're speaking to, I'm sure you've evolved past that, but there's a lot of people in the world who still need to have a lived experience of pain to be able to evolve. So it's an evolutionary process that we're living in right now, and that's just what it is. So here we are. This is what we'll be doing. We don't know how we're going to format this program at all. And we're really open to suggestions from the viewers. But I think most importantly, it's best right now to get to know us. I think Alice, tell us, where did we meet?
We met in a meditation program, a clairvoyant program. We both ended up there because of severe trauma that we had to deal with. Now I look at that and think of it as almost a gift, because it knocked me on a path that I was supposed to be on. I think I was going one direction and I was supposed to be going another. So we met there, and Lisa kept telling me that we were going to do something together, and we're both photographers. So we thought, well, yeah, I guess maybe we'll do something together. And we thought it was going to be maybe photographic. And she kept saying that, and I kept saying, oh, whatever.
I'd like to side note, we were not kumbayaing or best friends there at the time. No. So I would just walk into this common area that we would sit in, and I go, out of nowhere, Alice, we're going to do something together someday. Mm-hmm. And then 6 months later, Alice, we're going to do something someday. Well, here we are. 3 years ago, we started our ventures together.
Yeah, we started doing clairvoyant readings at events, and then that led to us developing some programming. And we have been reading a lot of artists, a lot of educators, because they're very open, introspective, people who look at themselves. It's really fun to read artists.
I think it's important to know how we got to there. And
How we got to there.
clearly we're not linear people. Clearly. Um, so Alice has been an educator for 20 years at the collegiate level. And I have a child of my own, and I was teaching photo camps. And what we both realized is there was a great need with young women in particular. So we started this idea of crafting programming to teach young teenage girls and collegiate age girls these tools that would help them surpass some pretty big obstacles that they were facing in life, obstacles that we really didn't have to face growing up. It's just a different time. And we tried really hard. We created this programming, and we tried to get these young teenage girls and young collegiate age women to join, but it just really wasn't the time. Of course, we have this wonderful programming sitting somewhere for someday. So we decided to start hosting workshops, and we just wanted to see who showed up. And lo and behold, who showed up were educators and artists, and mostly men. How's that? When we were really honing in on teenage girls. And it took me about 6 months into the process of doing these workshops where I had the aha moment, where I was like, oh, this is the trickle down effect. We are giving these tools to educators, and these educators will use these tools and potentially teach these tools to all their students. So that's kind of how we ended up working together. So, we've been doing it out of the labor of love, and now we're, creating something out of it. But we want to have fun with this program and show you what we do. Why we're doing it, Alice? Why? Why
are we doing this program or our programming?
All of it. How's that? All of it.
Just try to change the world, help people change themselves.
Yeah. Dum, 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 dum. Women on a soapbox. No. Sorry, I had to do it. Oh, I still have some work to do on myself. We're really not women on a soapbox. We teach tools. We don't teach people what to believe. We're not out there telling you how to live. We're just, we have a whole medley of tools that, as you know, when you have a toolbox and you're a creative individual, you're going to dig into that box and master it pretty quickly. And Alice, who can do this? Who's capable of this?
Artists.
Everybody, really.
Everybody can do this.
Yeah.
If we can do it, other people can do it.
What I like to say is that, particularly with creators, you're also open. And when you create, you're really piping, you're streamlining. When you're really in that zone, you're streamlining from source. But everyone's so sensitive. Most people, I don't want to generalize and have people bark at me, but most people are very sensitive, and they put the armor back on when they're out in the world, which presents as cynicism, sarcasm, not letting people in. But the toolbox that we have, that we've learned is what we should say, which we were taught, can help you wander around life with the same enthusiasm and certainty as when you're creating. And it's pretty magical. And I don't know, I can't say enough about it. It changed my life. I mean, I was standing on a ledge before I learned these tools, and I'm sure you were too, Alice. But that being said, and I think that's enough about us, I'm going to get boring. But we want to hear from you. We were thinking about formatting this program every week to facilitate questions. So if you're curious about an issue, whether some kind of issue or question for us about clairvoyance, to demystify it, we could do a whole program just on that. And I can't tell you we're going to crack the code on that, because, there's been many people who've tried to crack the code on that and wrap their head around it. But we can tell you from our perspective what we believe we're doing. We could additionally read things for you. So like we did for Jim's installation, you can present questions to us via email, and we can reframe it where we either, Alice and I get together and read the issue in person, and then give you the summary on one of these videos, or we could potentially, when we get skilled enough, to do a live Instagram read, which might be a little snoozer because it takes a little while, but it could be interesting. So we're open to suggestions from everyone else. If you don't give us suggestions, then we're just gonna roll with whatever we feel like doing every week.
And
What's your call, Alice?
how do they give us suggestions?
I think the best route to do is in the bio line, in the line underneath our video stream. I would go to www.pivotworkshops.com and link in with us through there. There's a sign up, and you can email us through there. We're trying to be like organized and professional about this, although we're, it's a work in progress. We have like 5,000 emails, 5,000 Instagram accounts, but we're going to just try to hone into 2. We're also we have a brand new Instagram account. So if you want to join it and see our 3 images, we're Pivot, PIVOT_workshops. So we'd love to see you on Pivot Workshops on Instagram. And we hope you tune into us every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. Alice, anything else to contribute?
How long have we been doing this?
I have no idea, but talking to myself.
No, I'm more of an observer, and I'm on 33 and Lisa's on 78, so.
Well, I guess this is Lisa Z. Have a fine day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.